Hi, I'm Cody Briscoe, and do you like kombucha? I love kombucha! Welcome to this installment of the Onision Book Club. This is going to be Chapter 3 of Reaper's Creek. This is the longest chapter so far. I'm trying to stop saying in my videos. That's one of my things I have to be mindful of. And I didn't used to do it as much in my older videos, but because I've, took a break, it's come back, but whatever. So yeah, this is the longest chapter, so expect it to be a longer video. Because Greg, of course, is a clown, and he didn't have his book printed with any page numbers. I've been having to write the numbers myself. And I believe there's 8 pages in this chapter, and the previous 2 chapters have been like 4 to 6 pages each. And I kind of have to if I'm reading Greg's writing. Stop saying that. While I'm reading, I'm going to be eating some Onision rings that have been provided to me. So, yeah. Without further ado, let's get into this shit. Chapter 3 is called He Had Black Eyes, which is what would have happened to Greg if Shiloh's dad was able to get out of Canada and go kick his ass. The walk to the school bus was cold. The gravel covering the road up the hill to our stop creaked and crunched under my feet. I didn't understand why it was already so cold, but I just came from Ohio, a place I only knew for its 90 to 100 degree summers and blazing humidity. Maybe I just lost touch with the place I was born. Again, an 11-year-old. He is 11. The cold breeze, the gray skies, the place I knew to be everything became a faint memory after being in Ohio for only a few months, yet it still felt like home. That was contradictory. And I'm going to try to not read with my mouth full. My cousin Michelle was at the top of the hill waiting for the bus as well. Joanna remained silent as we walked up. "Hi, Michelle," I said as our quarter-mile walk ended. "Hi, Greg and Joanna." "Oh, hi, Mark," Michelle replied. Michelle had her bangs cut in a straight line. She had dirty blonde hair and freckles. She was always kind of a geeky-looking kid, but because we were only a year apart in age, we hung out a lot. Okay, so in this one paragraph, I don't want to compliment him, but in this one paragraph, he's done a better job setting up the character of Michelle than anyone else, because he very infrequently describes what people look like. "How long have you been waiting?" Joanna asked Michelle. "About 9 years, it feels like," Michelle replied. Oh, God, I hate how he phrases, how he words dialogue. And, Michelle replied, Greg said, whatever. The bus came around the corner moments later. I looked to Michelle and said, "Guess we got lucky with our timing." She immediately replied, "Shut up." Suddenly, the bus exploded into thousands of pieces. Michelle was littered from head to toe with shrapnel and went flying over the side of the hill. Joanna was screaming in horror from her own wounds as Michelle jolted around, spitting up blood and screaming, "Vacation! Vacation now!" Okay. The plot has just turned left. Maybe eating on camera isn't such a good thing because this is a video of me reading something. So I'll try not to eat as much as I want to. So yeah, suddenly something horrifying and grotesque just happened in this book. And I want to say that this book, again, is a first-person, past-tense narrative. I know, I should apologize. That didn't really happen. However, I imagine stuff like that all the time. Okay. So our character is young Michael Myers from Rob Zombie's Halloween. The bus pulled up and took us to school, just like I remembered the smell was the same. The stops were pretty much the same, and the school itself looked the same. Ocean View Elementary. I'm not sure why it was called that, considering there was no ocean nearby, so I don't see how there could be such a view of a massive but distant mass of water. That did not have to be as long as it was. Our school was called Ocean View for some reason, which is weird, because there's no ocean nearby. That's all we needed to have gotten the same, joke. If you can call it that. Some of the teachers were waiting for us as we climbed off the bus. Maybe they just wanted to see what we all looked like. Okay, my bad, I was confused about something. Despite having no idea which of us were going to be appointed to each class. The first day of school so far was what I expected. Orientation. Oh, this is going to be a thrilling read. We met with a curly brown-haired woman. She was to be my teacher for every subject the entire year. I had the unfortunate realization that I was in the same class as Heather Simpson, a girl who had hit on me the entire year prior. So he's 11. So if you're 11, that would be 6th grade, because, I mean, for me at least, I was 10 in 5th grade. You can't call what girls do in 5th grade hitting on. Like, it's... Like, yeah, I have memories of girls in school being, like, I don't want to say flirtatious, because that sounds gross to say, because she's a fucking 10-year-old girl. But, like, I dated a girl when I was 10, and I remember there being, like a little courtship, but there was no flirting or anything. It's so weird. Only Greg would think of it like that. She would follow me around the halls, out on the playground, everywhere there wasn't a boys-only sign. Heather was built like an Amazonian child would be, only bulkier. Yes, to make us not like this girl, we also have to be physically repulsed by her. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and despite how that sounds, was a pain to look like. Yikes. You jeepers creepers, Greg. Maybe it was her crooked teeth, or maybe it was her bad breath one could easily smell from many feet away. He's just roasting this 11-year-old fucking child. This is grotesque. After plenty of time killing, our teacher finally released us for lunch, then recess. My favorite activity to take part in on the playground was the swings. I used to swing as high as I could, then jump off. There was a ton of sawdust, so I didn't really worry about falling on the ground. That's also weird. Maybe it's a regional thing, I don't know, but I never have been in a playground where there's sawdust as the padding. Wood chips is a more appropriate thing, or like little chunks of rubber from like recycled tires and stuff. But sawdust, can you imagine the mess that would make? Kids would be tracking it into the class. No, that's not going to work. Today I wanted to get further than any of the other kids, so I swung back and forth as hard as I could, but I landed short of the boy next to me, so I tried again. But again, I landed short. I feel like there's a lot of things that Greg lands short in. Climbing back on, I thought about what happened last night, how angry I was at my uncle, how none of my family was there for me. He was referring to the temper tantrum he threw when his uncle offered him some whiskey at a party, which was all weird and unrealistic. Where was I? And I felt like I lost a sense of any limitations in my body. I swung forward and then back. We know what swinging is. Why am I reading this? Repeated in a way I barely remember, and quickly after I was on the ground, touching the very edge of the border at the swing set area. In other words, I had swung so far, I nearly bashed my head on the pavement just outside of the safe, sawdust-covered rectangle floor. Oh my god, Daniel, that was insane. You were like a bird. A voice came from the side of the playground. It was my friend David. This was the first time I had seen him since last year, and I was immediately filled with joy. David! I screamed and ran over to him, immediately going for a high five. David returned my excitement and lifted his hand for a mutual high five. I felt a wet splat on my skin and realized I missed a key moment before we slapped hands. He had licked his hand as I lifted mine, because David is and always will be disgusting. He's my friend, but he's disgusting. Is anyone as great as this pure, angelic 11-year-old boy who hates everyone? Gross, David, I yelled, and David replied not with words, but with a laugh followed by a snort. David was wearing a yellow and maroon horizontal striped shirt. He's dressed like Chris Chan. As usual, he was about 2 inches taller than me, had darker skin than me, and had his dark hair cut like he didn't have a care in the world. I saw your sister today, Daniel. She's hot, David belched. I replied, Can you never say anything like that to me ever again, please? David again snorted, laughing. It was like the guy lived to trigger me. Okay. As we tried to catch up, the bell rang for us to come back. David went for another high five, but I just ran away screaming, No, David! That's Greg in any interaction he has with another man. Also, I did this on Twitter, but I've seen a couple other people renewing their requests to box Onision for charity, and I would like to throw my hat in the ring. I know he won't accept it because I am a tiny, tiny creator, but hey, if you want to get in the ring with me, I'd be down. As I walked into the classroom, the teacher announced to us that she had already gone through all the material for the day. She concluded that we should move on to start one subject of our schooling early, so we had more time for a butterfly project in the coming days. The subject we were to cover today was science, more specifically dinosaurs. This is a day I would remember for probably the rest of my life, as I was about to see something I had already seen, something I had never wanted to see, but had been forced to experience the sight of it repeatedly. Your vegetarian body? My teacher pushed in the VHS, and at first everything seemed normal. It was a generic film about the reptiles that lived on Earth long before humans. No big deal. However, the narrator began talking about an idea that had no real scientific value that I could think of. He asked, "What if a human was combined with a dinosaur?" At hearing this, I immediately scoffed. That sounds like some shit an 11-year-old would be way into. Why would this not be like... This kid hates fun. Unless he's on a swing set and can make himself look better than other people. My condescending reaction was muffled quickly by the image they showed after. It was the alien. They called it a dinosaur-human DNA splice, but it was almost identical to what I had dreamt of before. The face that haunted my imagination was realized in the physical world, and this is the first time I had seen anything like it with my own eyes. Immediately I stood up and left the classroom. The teacher didn't remember my name yet, so she yelled after me, student? I ignored her and walked towards the principal's office. I was in horror and lost... It is very hard to keep your place when you're reading this. I was lost in horror and thoughts of how the rest of the class reacted. It was like none of them had seen him before. The alien. Why was I the only one who seemed upset? Why would they show that to such young kids? Why did they show that to me? Why is he expecting other people to have reacted the same way he did? This is a thing, again, he's only been seeing in his dreams. So, does he think other kids are having similar dreams to him? Which, spoiler alert, this idea does not come up again ever. And kids all having shared dreams of the same kind of monster would be an interesting premise. I think Stephen King wrote a book like that. As I walked into the principal's office, the plump short secretary wearing a tacky flower dress immediately asked me why I was there. Why do kids wind up in the principal's office area on the first day? I replied, I need to call my mom. And I did. To my disappointment, but not my surprise, my mom was away at one of her many jobs. I asked the secretary with tears beginning to fall down my cheeks. Can I stay here until it's time to go home? What the fuck is this? The secretary saw I was struggling and incredibly uncomfortable. This was Greg when he wanted to get a dishonorable. So she called the principal out of her office. What's your name? Said the principal as she slowed in her approach towards me. I'm Daniel. I just want to wait here until the bus comes, then I want to go home. The principal tried to get me to explain what was wrong, but I didn't want to talk about it. Very similar to what Greg is going through today. He just doesn't want to talk about it. He just wants to act like a crazy person. They called over to the class, and I had a student bring me my belongings from the room I abandoned. There I waited till the buses were ready to take me home. I didn't talk to my sister or my cousin throughout the entire walk down the hill. When I got through my bedroom door, I closed it and planted my face in my cheap foam pillow. After climbing up on top of your washing machine because your bed's hanging on chains, remember? Oh, it already went out. I'll relight it between cuts. My mom was my safety, the only person I thought could protect me. I relied on her for everything and knew if I had anyone to talk to about it, she was it. Again, much like Tammy Jackson, I'm getting a very contradictory picture of this woman. You wrote this. It doesn't make sense. That night for dinner we were having lentils and toast. Mouth-watering. My mom had put food on the crock pot to cook all day while she was at work. This was common for us as we didn't have very much money and food like this was inexpensive. How was school today, kids? My mom asked all three of us. Christina, my eldest sister, remained silent while Joanna began her usual rant about anything and everything involving her outfits, her hair, her friends' appearances by comparison to her own, or anything else involved in her reflection. One sentence. After Joanna was done talking about the most superficial of topics, 11-year-olds are superficial. My mom turned to me and asked how I was, and I replied, the teacher showed me a picture of an alien on a video and I cried. My mom's face went from curious to angry in seconds. She replied, they showed you a scary alien at your age? What? I replied, it had dark black eyes, scales, it had no nose, but it had tiny holes where its nose should be, and they said it was a dinosaur human, but it looked like an alien. I would lock my kid up. No, I wouldn't. My sister Joanna laughed and said, wow, sounds awesome. I frowned and looked at my sister hopelessly. My sister regularly seemed like a sociopath to me. You know what? No. It's too easy. I'd never understand why she thought my sadness was a laughing matter. My mom spoke again. Well, I'll have a talk with your teacher, not even having the emotional strength to nod. This really does sound like Chris Chan's writing, too. Which, by the way, Chris, if you ever wrote anything besides Sonichu, I would absolutely read it. I would love to read more of your writing that does not involve the Electric Hedgehog Pokemon and his adventures in Quickville. That said, I do love reading Sonichu. I still keep up with it. I like, a lot of my friends read a shitload of manga, like, week to week, and I used to as well. I used to keep up with Detective Conan, and I have read a lot of manga in the past. I used to be up to date with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I've, like, the first 3 volumes, I would guess, of JoJolion, I mean, I could be, maybe not 3 volumes, but I used to be up to date with JoJolion, but I haven't for, like, over 2 years. I would like to get up to date with it, though, but, like, the only ongoing comics that I keep up with are The Dark Tower and Sonichu, is what I'm getting at. I just sat silently looking at my food till it was clear that everyone was done with dinner. After that, I put my hand on my pillow for a final time that day. My fears became realized. The creature I dreamt of before had more strength than ever. He was here now, waiting, in the black. So this chapter was called He Had Black Eyes, so I was expecting another, like, alien vision, but he just sees a thing that looks like it. That's the end of the chapter, by the way. I don't know, man. Like, I've been trying to compare, like, oh, this chapter was better than the other one, but this one was just nothing. There it is. I gotta stop that. Fuck! I really did not like his characterization of these kids. He's so vindictive about everything. It's insane. Like, this is an 11-year-old kid. Listen, look, a lot of 11-year-old kids are assholes. But they're assholes for different reasons. Like, because, like, they don't realize their behavior or it's been, like, projected onto them by parents or whatever. But, like, what kind of parenting has this kid? His name's Daniel, I think. It changes chapter per chapter, basically. But the parenting that this kid has gone through to make him so judgmental and hateful of people. But again, he loves his mother. And his stepfather seems like an upstanding guy. He sounds hot, to be honest. But yeah, this character makes no sense, and the character is the entire book, because it's a first-person narrative. Fuck, son of a bitch. Yeah, that's gonna call it for this video. Look forward to the next one. I'd appreciate you guys leaving a like or a comment or subscribing or sharing the video around. The YouTube algorithm has kind of murdered me since I took a break from YouTube because it favors people who upload longer videos very frequently, which I'm going to try to start doing once I get internet hooked up in the trailer. But yeah, thanks for watching and have a good one.